allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Oh, thank you, sir.
And after that, clerk, please call roll.
Cook, Hopkins. Here. Odell.
Here.
Patterson. Richardson. Here. Aaron Scott.
Here.
Bill Scott.
Here.
Wankle.
There.
Wormowski.
Here.
Williams.
Here.
Mayor Anderson. City Attorney Beer.
Here.
You have a form?
Thank you. Is there a reading of the minutes this evening?
Yes, so I'd like to move that the minutes be accepted as circulated.
Is there a second? Alderman Aaron Scott. All those in favor of approving the minutes, please respond by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Presentation of petitions
No petition.
and any communication?
We have 3. Just for notification to the council, there will be a doodle romp in the dog park for International Doodle Day.
Yeah, take it back.
And that is going to be on May 6th. The second one is a request to use Community Park by the Jacksonville Citizens Police Academy alumni in conjunction with the Scott Morgan Crime Stoppers Organization and presenting its 3rd annual National Night Out, August 7th, 2018. We've done this 2 years in a row, so this is for the 3rd year. Adam's already been talked to. The 3rd one is from Hobby Horse House, Child Abuse Prevention Month, and Hobby Horse would like to promote awareness of the advocating protecting children in the community. They'd like to use the Jacksonville Square for the week of April 2nd through April 9th to put 200 pinwheels up, and then they'll be removed prior to April 9th. According to Terry, it's not a problem. They've done this a couple of years in a row, and it shouldn't cause any problems in the downtown. That's all I have, Mr. Mayor.
That's all for that there.
Can I just say something about the topic we were just discussing before we move on? The loan?
Oh, yeah.
We'll come back to that just to.
Okay, yeah, just.
Claims.
No claims.
No claims tonight? Okay, so we'll go back to the workshop.
I asked Mr. Smoljanik a question about the replenishment rate. So he gets between $4,000 to $5,000 in loan payments every month. So between 10 months to a year, the $50,000 that we're talking about will be back into the fund. So we were talking about other restaurants or other projects coming up. So if they did want that $50,000, it would just be a delay and we could do it next year. Just to let everyone know.
Let's see, Parks and Lakes. Steve?
Got 3 things. First thing is discuss advertising for bids for riding mower, T-mower for Links Golf Course.
Tony needs a new mower.
In the capital improvement budget, there's a line item for a new mower. I'd like to trade what we have in, and it's, we're replacing a 16-year-old mower. It's probably the last piece I got where you can't get parts for it anymore. So,
And by the way,
we're gonna put it out for
by
bids.
Northbridge, Tony does a great job out of things, okay? I want to make sure to give him a plug, so. Yes.
On the T-mower, Tony, I'm just curious, how, did you know this was gonna be coming up for replacement? I mean, you made it in the budget, right?
yeah, it's in the capital improvement budget.
How much do we have budgeted?
36,000.
Oh, it's 36,000.
36,000 budget. Well, I was just asking at that level, a while back, we'd asked for 5-year plans. And I noticed the team mower wasn't in there. It is in the budget, which is fine, but did you know that this was gonna have to be replaced a year ago?
Well, I just go by which one needs to be worked on the most, and this is what we need at the moment.
Okay.
It's kind of a guess.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Second item, Mr. Mayor, is discuss amending regulations and fees for Lake Jacksonville.
Let me take a stab at this one. We had approved on first reading the rates and camping fees and so forth. Since then, there's been some discussion on two areas. One, there's a regulation of no swimming from boats, and obviously that's not something that's being enforced. Where suggestion was to, on second reading, amend the ordinance and remove that portion. Second,
And to come back and address it later.
and come back and address that later. Second, there was a winter storage fee of $50, but that's created some confusion. What the proposal was since the last meeting was just eliminate that $50 winter storage fee.
The $50 storage fee, I think, is inside the 560, right? Yeah, it's a refundable.
So,
Right.
that was a discussion that was had, so.
Right, that's correct. The
So
560.
it will remain at 560, it's simply not gonna be refunded as $50 for winter storage, or for not using the winter storage.
No, that's not it. If you don't use winter storage, you get your $50 back, but if you do, you lose the $50 goes to that.
No, that's not the way we discussed it. The fee was, the camping fee is $560. There is no $50 storage fee from here on. And then next year is the end of the 5-year grace period. There'll probably be some discussions to increase camping fees at that time. But right now, for someone just to leave their camper out there, they're charged $50. I don't really know why. But it's caused confusion in the past, and we just discussed with the chairman to just remove it.
So you can leave it or take it home, correct? Yes. Fee's the same either way. So if those are acceptable, then when that comes up for second reading, there'd be a motion to amend eliminating the winter storage additional $50 fee, keeping the rate at 560, and eliminating the proposal for no swimming from the boats.
Kelly, can I ask you a question? Have you been collecting the $50 storage fee from folks that have left their campers at the lake?
But there's always been, apparently, before me, there was confusion as to this $50 element. Some feel it was paid and reimbursed, and some feel it wasn't, and so on. I think there was a reimbursement, but to solve the confusion, we just discussed eliminating it. That's my best explanation for the little time I've been involved.
So what we're doing now is we're just eliminating the winter storage fee till 9, and so everyone pays 560.
That's correct for the regular.
And everybody can leave their camper at the lake if they want.
Yes.
But if you take your camper and you don't use storage, then you lose your $50.
There is no storage.
There's no storage. There's no storage.
It's $560.
No, I mean,
Right, you're right, Steve.
Right,
If
right.
you take your camera out, you're not gonna get it.
Okay, that's what I thought Alderman Patterson was asking about, was the $50 returning that there used to be.
It's $560 no matter what. There is no winter storage fee anymore. It's $560 if you keep it there. It's $560 if you don't.
Okay, I just wasn't sure on what the conversation was with Alderman Patterson.
I don't know, so as a bookkeeper, it simplifies everything.
No, I understand what you're saying, Steve, because Marcy was asking about that.
So, we might, depending, we'll have to check with her, but we might be revisiting this if she has a different understanding, so.
She's on board. We were in a meeting last week with Marcy, and she had no issues with this.
No, yeah, she was full support, but I wasn't sure about the, okay.
You got another
Yeah,
opportunity, Steve.
Alderman Patterson messaged me today and asked me to tell everyone for the third item here is last year she was working on a proposal to put a bathroom facility in at Duncan Park. She had some sort of porta potty base with a shell around it that would be historically accurate or something like that. I don't know, I didn't see the exact details or the final proposal, but she said she was wanted to bring that up again this year in discussion. So she just wanted to make the council aware of that.
Is that in the budget or?
I don't know.
No, it's not in the budget. She touched base with Kelly and I about that. We've tried a couple times and we might take another shot at it.
Because there's pushback,
Yes.
right, from the.
Yes, there's pushback from
It has
neighbors.
to be historically correct.
Because I just heard from, I have a 4-year-old, so I talk to our moms and they say it'd be nice to have a restroom facility there so you don't have to run home whenever your kid has to go pee.
Yeah.
They don't make historical correct.
Put a little outhouse there. I don't know exactly what it was.
A little moon on the front of it.
Sorry.
Thank you.
Planning and Public Works on this guy.
We have 3 items tonight, Mayor. First one is discuss waiving bids and accepting proposal for the purchase of a Bobcat 5600 with a trade-in on for use at the City Hall and Plaza Maintenance Department. And this is capital improvement. Terry, you have anything you'd like to say about it?
No, I'm just trading in a 9-year-old piece of equipment, and that piece of equipment is my main source for moving snow, doing the work all the downtime. Pardon me?
Your tool cap?
Yes, my tool cap.
So you're getting another tool cap?
Trading it in, trading the old one in for this new one.
New one, but it's gonna be comparable.
Yes, it'd be the
Not like
exact.
Bobcat. it's a
No.
tool cap.
It's a tool cap. Be just like what I have, only newer.
How much we have budgeted for that?
Had 35,000 in there, and this is gonna cost 33,540.92.
Terry, is that attachments, everything, or is that just the piece
That's everything. They're including everything in that.
with the trade?
Mm-hmm.
Questions? Not, we'll go on to number 2. Number 2 is discuss waiving bids and accepting proposal for the purchase of an excavator for the use at the city of Jacksonville Cemetery. And this also was budgeted in capital improvement. Jim's here, if you got any questions?
Why waiting bids?
What do you currently use?
We have a John Deere 110 tractor at one cemetery. And the other cemetery, we have just an older, our oldest tractor, we have a police cemetery, and it's just a utility tractor with a back and backhoe on it. And it don't have much lifting capacity. And it was purchased in the year 2002. And this is the one we was wanting to trade in, but it's in better shape than the bigger tractor we have at down the road. It's used a lot more, and we had the pump go out on it this year in June, and we couldn't get parts for the pump till August. So it's one of them tractors they're not using no more, not making anymore. So we get to a point where we'll be out of commission. So we'll be using hand shovels to dig graves.
Still working out that.
Did you waive bids because you're on a state contract, or why are you waiving bids?
Because it is on the contract, state contract is. It's on their contract, government contract.
Bobcat goes, any municipality or state, they got their own rate for a governmental rate, and it's equivalent to what a state bid is. Fact is, I've found dealing with them it's a lot lower actually than what a state contract is.
Yeah, it's actually $22,000 off. It's $81,000 piece of machinery.
If I remember correctly, Jim, cemetery used to use one piece of equipment.
Yes.
And used to shuttle it back and forth, so it was easier on the equipment to have one at each place and not put all those hours on that piece of equipment shuttling it, so that's the reason they had to just
Yeah, whenever we have to shuttle back and forth, there's extra manpower sometimes to take it across town. We have to have somebody falling across. We've had buckets fall off from going down Hardman and stuff, so not a fun thing. So.
Just a little history lesson. Any questions on that? Not, we'll move on to number 3. Thank you, Jim. Discuss request for a stop sign at Michigan and Hardin Avenue. I'll open that up.
Yeah, that was the presentation that we had at the last meeting. We didn't know whether you were in favor of going forward with this or not, so rather than put an ordinance change on the agenda, wanted to get your input to know whether we should go forward.
I would want to ask Tony and Lori if they had any feedback from their people.
Well, I live just about a block from that location, that intersection, and no one has come to me about any opposition. And, you know, I think Marcy said it best last week. You know, sometimes we just have to be a good neighbor, and I think this is one of those instances that South Jacksonville was asking for a stop sign, and there's no harm if we put one in.
What were they asking the stop sign for? That's what I'm a little bit unclear on.
I think they asked, I mean, you were at the discussion, so what do you recall? I've seen your video online, so I know where you're going with this.
Right, I'm just trying, because I'm just trying, I talked to the village president, and he's saying something different than what the police chief or the village chief said last time.
What I heard was that I know you guys had a discussion at the last council meeting regarding traffic flow and, you know, how that all flows. But then also the heavy equipment that would be coming out of Reynolds. There was some discussion about that too. I mean, I think it boils down to why would we say no?
So if I could.
I think most of the problems with South Jacksonville was what you were just talking about, was heavy equipment traffic. And that was why the water plant was being constructed. That's when they started bringing this up. That's not happening anymore. I don't think we have a problem.
If I could follow up on what the discussion was from last meeting. So the village police chief said that there were issues with pedestrians on Hardin in South Jacksonville going to the park and kids crossing over to the park. So I asked a question afterwards through messaging. I said, if that's the issue right there at Godfrey Park, at the intersection with the Greenwood, it's like, why don't they just put a stop sign in right there if they want to stop the traffic? And that's something they could do without asking us. And they can do that right now if it's an issue for safety. And the other thing is, as Alderman Oldmeadow was saying, that I was headed out to they had an event at the Bart Park on Sunday, and I had my Prius set on eco mode, and I was bringing out a bunch of water for the dogs to drink and to wash their paws. So I had a couple hundred extra pounds in the back of the car, and within like halfway to the park from Michigan, I didn't even step on the accelerator that hard, but I was up to 30 miles an hour within a block going away from that stop sign. So the one request that they had was to slow down the speed of traffic at the park. Putting a stop sign in there doesn't have anything at all, would not accomplish that. The other point they brought up was that, I don't know if there was a request from Reynolds saying that they needed help with their trucks coming out. When this first came up last year, I talked to Paul Ellis at the JREDC, and I asked him if he can talk to his contacts at Reynolds and find out if they were requesting the stop sign. And he got back to me and said that Reynolds doesn't, or they don't have any position at all. They're not asking for that stop sign there. So, and then I guess it's coming up again that there's some discussion of whether or not there's like some letter floating around saying that Reynolds wants it. So I emailed the manager of the Reynolds facility right now and asked him if there was a letter and what the company's position was. He says that they're not taking a position on this. This is not something that they're asking for. So I think some things were presented to us that if you check up on them, it's not checking out when you follow up on it.
The other thing that they said at the meeting is they don't have sidewalks either. I mean, there's no sidewalks on East Michigan from Gultra to Hardin. There's also no sidewalks on South Clay. There's no sidewalks on Hardin Avenue because they have ditches instead of gutters.
And that's why Jacksonville is such a great community, because we have invested money in our streets and our infrastructure. And if you look at Hardin, we have a nice street with sidewalks on one side. And I know the village has money coming in, and if this is an issue for them, that's the real solution to what their problem is. They're asking us to do something, I think, to placate people, but it's not gonna have any effect. And like we saw with the design guidelines, that this might actually increase traffic downstream. So that's why the main reason I've been resistant to this is because I think a stop sign there, even though it's minor, is kind of sand in the gears for the operation of the Reynolds plant. I don't think we should be doing anything at all to impact a big employer for town. I think South Jacksonville, I don't know what their internal politics are. It's just something I don't think this is gonna help.
So the thing that was brought up is the reason East Michigan is a truck route. Okay, it's a truck route, so people can come up and down Michigan. So when the water plant was open, they were using Michigan as an access point to jump on 67 because they couldn't get out to Morton Avenue. So a lot of the traffic has been alleviated, and when they come out, they will actually turn to go north onto Hardin and then jump onto Morton to jump onto the interstate. So it shouldn't impede their work either. They have to stop there anyway. They're not going to keep on rolling past.
But I guess I went out there and if you go out there, if you look at the traffic counts, like I stood out there in the intersection for a while, and there's not a problem. I mean, these drivers are professional drivers who go all over the area, and they deal with traffic all the time. I don't think they have any problems pulling out. And as Chief Mefferts pointed out in the past, there's only been one accident at that intersection. So it's not a warranted stop sign from all of the rules we have for this.
Well, can we have a show of hands, Mayor, for it again?
Yeah, or we can put it on the agenda next meeting.
Yeah.
And
So we
go
should
it up for
hold it up
that.
now.
Yeah, so let's put it on agenda. I mean, it's not live threatening.
You put it on agenda, I mean, if we had a show of hands, it would pass tonight, just in general.
I'm in support of it. I mean, I don't see a reason why not to do it.
I'll prepare an ordinance and we can go through it. Yeah.
I mean, if that stop sign is going to be that monumental, I mean, okay. But I hadn't heard anybody say anything about it. I mean, other than the conversation we've had within the council, so. Have you heard anybody in the ward saying that? So, I mean.
I drive Hardin multiple times every week. I see no issue with it. I know Alderman Patterson may comment about being a good neighbor, but I see no purpose for a stop sign there. I don't see heavy traffic. It's a three-way. I don't understand it. I actually don't support it either. So.
The same way, Jeff.
And one thing that hasn't been brought up is how many truck stuff do they have coming in and out of there every day? I mean, you're adding a stop sign, so you're gonna obviously affect trucks stopping in a main intersection. What's that gonna do to our roads? I mean, sometimes you go to streets that have, heavy truck traffic, and they hit the warped roads and heavily put on the brakes, those types of things. So what's that gonna do to our streets? I guess we'd have to have some engineers, discuss that. Along with screeching brakes, what's that gonna, some of our Jacksonville residents could probably have a problem with that as well. So that's just some of my concerns.
You had some communications with others out there in South Jacksonville. Is it your impression they don't want the stop sign out there now, or what is the mayor's position?
The village president, I think, just like the request was from the police chief when he presented last week, I think that's what the village's position is. They would like to have a four-way stop. I think they voted in the three-way, but they wanted to work with us on the four-way.
Okay.
So I'm just saying what I already said.
They haven't backed away, that they still are requesting that we put a four-way stop in.
Right.
Also, they didn't seek our opinion before they voted on it.
Actually, the mayor a year ago sent me an email, and they said, just have Chief Mann come and talk, and he did, and that's what we said, so. Okay,
So what are we doing?
we're gonna have it on the agenda at the next meeting. brought it up with them.
I mean,
Make it
for
official.
me, I'm kind of against it. They never even brought it to the committee to discuss it first. It's like they bypassed us. I just like, who's against it? So we can not fool with this if we don't have to.
They probably didn't, I probably circumvented it as far as when he emailed me, I said, hey, we'll build a new water plant. Let's let our new water plant get built, and then we'll bring it up when they're ready. And then they brought it up, and here we are. So I don't think they meant to bypass the committee. I mean,
No, I wouldn't take anything personal on that.
yeah, it's just, they like it.
They waited for
To
water.
slow down the speed.
And we'll send traffic elsewhere.
Yep.
So,
Okay, public protection, Alderman Williams.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I have 3. Discuss waiving bids and accepting proposal for purchase of mower and multi-purpose vehicle with snow blade and accessories, less trade-in allowance for the Jacksonville Regional Training Center, and that's going to be funded by the federal forfeit fund. Chief, would you like to?
Yeah. Actually, the less trade-in, there's, Henry Service Center has allotted us $15,000 trade-in on a tractor that we currently have at the training center. That tractor was acquired through a forfeited vehicle because the driver was previous DUI, operating the vehicle for DUI on Martin Avenue. So we seized that tractor. It had $0 owed on it. So when it was awarded to us, we've been using it at the range. Its size and purpose is not very practical for what we want to do out there. I can trade this tractor in and get a brand new 0-turn mower, a commercial grade, and also a multi-purpose vehicle with a dump bed on it to keep heavy weight off of our range floor that has buried tile in it. And normally it wouldn't be that big of a deal to have a heavy vehicle on buried tile. Tractors go over all the time, but on our range floor, it's not the 6 foot as would be on farm ground. It's more like 2.5 to 3.5 foot in certain areas. So this vehicle would be, the multi-purpose vehicle would be for hauling equipment back up and down the range floor. It would also have a snowplow blade in the wintertime, so when we're hosting classes out there and we would happen to get some snow at some point, we can push the snow. I also added in, and Henry's gave us a good deal on a enclosure for it, so in the wintertime, if you're out there pushing snow and the wind's blowing 30 miles an hour, at least you have a little bit of protection from it. The reason it says we were going to do bids is the tractor that we seized was actually purchased from Henry, so he was familiar with the tractor, gave us a good deal. So we were able to basically buy about $18,500 worth of new equipment that will be serviced locally for $3,500 out of the federal forfeit funds. So that was the request.
Apologize, Mr. Stupidity on this one, but the funds, that's no city money.
That's zero taxpayer dollars.
Thank you. That's what I wanted to make sure.
Yeah.
I just have a question, it's not specifically about that, I guess about operation. So who uses, not the stuff inside the range, but the push the snow and to mow the grass? Is that police officers doing the work? Or?
Yes, we're doing it ourselves.
So is that police officers doing it on duty, or?
The deputy chiefs take care of that on Friday afternoons.
So that's something that, are you guys doing it as part of your jobs, or is it an extra thing?
Since the deputy chiefs don't make overtime, basically they put a lot of extra hours in, and so they take Friday afternoons off when the maintenance is needed out there to cover those things. So it's kind of an exchange of hours is what it is.
I guess operationally this is something the mayor could figure out, but I guess I prefer to see parks employees or someone else do this job instead of police officers. I don't know how that works out, but that's an operational thing you might want to figure out.
There's a lot of stuff that they get from my department, and we help them out with. Pete goes out there and does it. Where they're busy doing stuff, they send us out there quite a bit. So, I mean, we try to do as much as we can for them to save them from.
Yeah, I don't believe this would fall in parks and lakes. It's not a public facility.
This was built.
I believe
But I mean, this is,
Tony Group.
they have
It was agreed that this would not be under Parks and Rec.
Oh, really?
From the get-go.
Because I know the police officers are shorthanded now, so.
I will be happy to go out there every Friday and mow.
All right.
So
Problem solved.
I'm good with that. If we can put that in the record. Okay.
We won't make the races over.
I believe also to answer your question, Steve, originally when the training center was built, it was under the negotiation that it would not impede any of the other city services, that the police department would maintain the facility itself. And so that's, I mean, a lot of that mowing is, takes a little bit of time, but not a whole lot of time. And some of it's done on the weekends, some of it's done, most of it's done on Friday afternoons, so.
And that's a gym out there. I know you guys have probably been out there, but we need to go out there and have like a quick meeting. It's a great facility.
Zero turn cut it in half too.
Right.
Is this a gym?
We have 1 0 turn already, but when we're getting, the tractor had a pull behind mower on it, and basically it threw belts. It was in dire need of maintenance, and if anybody's ever mowed with a large tractor with thin or narrow back wheels, it about tips over on every small hill. So this 0 turns commercial grade, it's safer, and we can cut our time in half and expenses.
I'm happy to use taxpayer dollars.
Okay. And number 2 is discuss advertising bids for the purchase of 3 SUV squad cars less trade-in allowance for the Jacksonville Police Department.
Those were the 3 from capital improvement that was approved. We're just requesting permission to go out for bids on those. And those will be put to the state bid.
And we are trading in some.
Yes, we'll be trading in 3 vehicles.
What mileage are on those?
The 2 of them are over 100,000 miles, and the one is right at 80,000 miles. And the only reason we're trading the 80,000 mile, it's currently one of the older cars we have, and it's starting to rack up some maintenance, even though the miles are low. But we discussed trading in one of the other newer Ford Tauruses. However, when I reviewed some of the records before I was going to trade in, I realized that one of those Tauruses had a motor change due to warranty, and it only has 30,000 miles on it, so it's silly to get rid of a car that's only 30,000 miles. So we'll get rid of the older 80,000 mile car and keep the 30,000. And plus it keeps us up to date with our other vehicles that we have.
Sounds good.
That's what you. All right, and the next one is discuss a gift of ALS vehicles for Pasman Area Hospital. Chief.
Sorry, the mayor left. I was gonna ask him if he was gonna mow the substation.
That's on Saturday morning.
What's that?
That's Saturday morning.
Yeah. I think you guys recall, or you all know that Pasman paramedics are going on service midnight. I believe it was a couple meetings ago. Through Phil McCarty and the dispatch center downstairs, we kind of reached out to Pasman Hospital to see if there's some way we could keep that resource in the community. Working with Harry Schmidt and Travis Wilson out there, we've come to an agreement with Pasman Hospital. They are going to donate the current paramedic vehicle and all the equipment fully equipped to the Jacksonville Fire Department to pick up ALS responses. Give you a brief rundown of how that's going to work is the vehicle will be licensed as an ALS assist vehicle, which means we don't have to staff it 24/7. We can come in and out of services as we have a paramedic at the main station. So that's going to give us a transition period between 6 to 8 months before we can finally go full-time 24/7. Basically, if we had to put a price tag on the gift from Pasman Hospital and the foundation out there back to the fire department, if you were going to go out and buy all this stuff new, we'd be looking probably right at about $100,000. Cardiac monitors probably a $30,000 price tag. The vehicle itself is probably between $40,000 and $45,000. So it's a pretty significant gift. The resources we're happy to keep in the city and keep it operational. their gift, along with the Safer grant and adding the staffing, is allowing us to do this transition a lot sooner than what we thought. We didn't think that we would be able to move this quick, but 6 months from approval to hire to moving to this added resource or added increased level of service to the community, I think it's a big leap forward for us and the city of Jacksonville. So I just wanted to brief you. And anybody's got any questions, please feel free.
Could you tell them how old the vehicle or how recent the vehicle is? What year?
I believe it's a 2013 or 2014 Chevy Suburban or Ford Expedition.
And equipment inside as far as?
It has all the equipment necessary to be licensed as a ALS vehicle through the state. Cardiac monitors, drug boxes, everything we need. Radios, lighting. I know that Bill McCarty put the lighting on the thing.
Oh,
It was $15,000 with emergency lighting on it. So it's pretty significant gift.
How many miles?
I'm not sure, Bill. I haven't even seen the vehicle yet. The only stipulation that they put back to me is we get past the hospital lock of the ASAP. That's what I heard. The only cost that the fire department will have in this vehicle is naturally getting the vinyl switched out and having Jacksonville Fire added to it. So,
I think it's a wonderful gift.
yeah, it's a resource that served the community well for a number of years, and we're happy to keep it going.
You gonna let Phil drive it?
On occasion, we might.
You guys turn the lights on.
Place to park it.
We're working on that.
You take it, build the parking later.
The mayor stepped out, but just want to make sure you know that you're mowing the substation now Saturday morning.
Saturday mornings. Substation.
Thank you.
Wasn't me.
The substation? Well, Smokey will help me. That's great.
They only have a push bar.
I need, yeah. Okay, utility, Alderman Walcall.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. One item tonight, discuss change order number 2 for Lake Lodestar Sediment Lagoon Reclamation Project. Reg?
Thank you. Just a couple of old school handouts, if you could just pass them around. That's pictures of the finished reclamation work. They're similar but not the same as they're passed around. The work is complete out there. This shows you a picture as of this morning, so we've obviously had more rain. There is one small area that isn't able to be fully reclaimed at this time because evidently one of the underground pipes became completely full with dirt during the dredging process. So there's a small area, maybe the equivalent of 1 acre, that remains fairly wet and soft where the contractor got his piece of equipment stuck in it. So I'm sure that the farmer will want to delineate that area and not farm that area for a while. Potentially may want to make some additional improvements out there. But as far as the contract that we contracted with Freeze and Ink for, the work is complete. They've actually done some follow-up work. There may be one small item or something as extended warranty goes that they may have to do, but we have a time extension as the change order number 2, which is solely to make the contract consistent with the language that was in there to begin with. They made a very good faith effort to do the work in the time that we were allowed, but the weather didn't allow it. And then they have since reached substantial completion, and these dates will work for all that. And we have a pay request that's on your consent agenda that goes hand in hand with the change order. You have to answer any questions.
When will we be able to put this back under crop at some point?
The mayor and I spoke Kiwanis Pancake and Sausage, and he was going to coordinate with the farm manager.
Is she interested?
It's amazingly ready. Reasons did a fantastic job with the earthwork out there, and especially as you drive by on the side roads, it looks really good. I mean, from the country club road, it looks like an elevated farm field, which is what it is.
Yeah, they did nice.
Great, thank you. Any public comment at this time? No public comment? We'll go into the mayor's report. Item number 1 is the reappointment of Brian Nyberg to the Jacksonville Fireman's Pension Fund Board of Trustees, term to expire May 11th, 2021. Is there a motion? Alderman Bill Scott, second by Alderman Lori Lartoldell. All those in favor of approving Brian, please respond by saying aye. Aye. Opposed?
Just a comment that he does a wonderful job.
He's a pretty good one.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay, any other public comment at this time? Brett? Consent agenda items, finance, IT, and personnel. Alderman Wonk, will you handle that one, please?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. 2 items tonight. Number 1, City Treasurer's Report, February 28, 2018. Number 2, resolution approving transfer of 2018 Home Rule Volume Cap to Western Illinois Economic Development Authority.
Great. Parks and Lakes, Alderman Wormowski.
Resolution authorizing advertisement for bids for riding T-mower for the Links Golf Course.
Planning and Public Works, Alderman Scott.
2 items tonight, Mr. Mayor. Resolution authorizing waiver of advertisement for bids and accepting proposal for the purchase of a Bobcat 5600, less trade-in allowance for the City Hall and Maintenance Club. Number 2, resolution authorizing the waiver of advertisement for bids and accepting proposals for the purchase of a E45 T4 Bobcat compact excavator for the City of Jacksonville Cemetery.
Thank you. Public Protection, Alderman Williams.
Resolution for authorizing waiver of advertisement for bids and accepting proposal for purchase of 2018 Proceed Cab Cadet Zero Turn Mower and a 2018 CX 700 4x4 multi-purpose vehicle with snow blade and accessories, less trade-in allowance for the Jacksonville Regional Training Center, and resolution authorizing advertising for bids for the purchase of 3 SUV squad cars, less trade-in allowance for the Jacksonville Police Department.
And Utility, Alderman Walpole.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. 2 items tonight. Number 1, resolution authorizing payments from the Waterworks and Sewer Projects Fund for services rendered improvement projects. Number 2, resolution approving change order number 2 for Lake Mostar Sediment Lagoon Reclamation Project, and I so move.
Thank you. Is there a second for the consent agenda? Alderman Aaron Scott. Is there any items that you wish to pull for further discussion?
Utility 2.
Utility 2 is pulled. We'll do that under committee. Seeing no others, I would ask the clerk to please call roll on the consent agenda.
Hopkins?
Yes.
O'Donnell?
Yes.
Richardson?
Yes.
Aaron Scott?
Yes.
Bill Scott?
Yes.
Wonkel?
Yes.
Wormowski?
Yes.
Williams?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you. Committee reports tonight. Parks and Lakes. Alderman Wormowski.
First item is second reading of an ordinance amending the Jacksonville Municipal Code, Chapter 20, Parks, Section 20-7, regulations for the use of public campgrounds at Lake Jacksonville. So move.
Is there a second? Alderman Hopkins.
Be ordained that the Jacksonville Municipal Code, Chapter 20, Parks be amended concerning the use of public campgrounds at Lake Jacksonville, establishing regulations.
Discussion?
This isn't the one for the amendment, it's the next one.
Okay, thank you.
Seeing none, I'd ask the clerk to please call roll.
O'Donnell?
Yes.
Richardson?
Yes.
Aaron Scott?
Yes.
Bill Scott?
Yes.
Wonkel?
Yes.
Wormowski?
Yes.
Williams?
Yes.
Hopkins?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Second item, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Second item, second reading of an ordinance amending the Jacksonville Municipal Code, Chapter 20 Parks, adding Section 20-8 fishing, boating, and overnight camping fees and regulations of Lake Jacksonville.
Is there a motion? Alderman Williams, second by Alderman Walkle.
Be it ordained that ordinance number 2018-0005 be adopted, setting the rates and camping fees and regulations.
Discussion?
I would like to make a motion to amend the ordinance as previously discussed in committee to eliminate the line for the $50 storage fee under camping, and then also eliminating the references to no swimming at the lake from boats. And I so move.
What was that last part?
There's a provision now that says there's no swimming allowed for boats, and we're eliminating that, and we'll have further action on that later.
So is there a second? Alderman Bill Scott?
And so this would be voted on the amendment.
Okay. I would ask the clerk to please call roll on the amendment.
Richardson?
Yes.
Aaron Scott?
Yes.
Bill Scott?
Yes.
Wonkel?
Yes.
Wormowski?
Yes.
Williams?
Yes.
Hopkins?
Yes.
And O'Donnell.
Yes.
Motion passes.
And we have a motion to approve on second reading.
I'll make that motion.
Is there a second? Alderman Hopkins? Discussion? I would ask the clerk to please call roll on second reading.
Aaron Scott?
Yes.
Bill Scott?
Yes.
Wonkel?
Yes.
Wormowski?
Yes.
Williams?
Yes.
Hopkins?
Yes.
O'Donnell?
Yes.
Richardson?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Very good. Planning and Public Works?
We'll hand that off, Mr. Aaron. I'll yield that to
Oh,
Mr.
okay.
Aaron.
The other Mr. Scott.
There's a second reading of an ordinance amending the Jacksonville zoning map, for property located at 1225 Mound Avenue from R1 to public. And I so move.
Is there a second? Alderman Hopkins?
Be it ordained that the Jacksonville zoning map be amended for the property located at 1225 Mound Avenue, changing the classification from R1, one-family dwelling district, to PA, public activity district.
Any discussion? I would ask the clerk to please call roll.
Bill Scott?
Yes.
Wonk?
Yes.
Wormowski?
Yes.
Williams?
Yes.
Hopkins?
Yes.
O'Donnell?
Yes.
Richardson?
Yes.
Aaron Scott?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Next item is a second reading of an ordinance amending the Jacksonville zoning map, for property located at 1320 Tindick Street from B3 to R5. And I so move.
Is there a second? Alderman Bill Scott?
Be it ordained that the Jacksonville zoning map be amended for the property located at 1320 Tindick Avenue, changing the zoning classification from B3 to R5, multiple family dwelling district.
Is there any discussion? Any public discussion? I would ask the clerk to please call roll.
Reminder, this is the 62 and over community that they're going to build. It's nice.
Ready? Wonkel?
No.
I'm sorry.
No.
Wormowski?
Yes.
Williams?
Yes.
Hopkins?
Yes.
O'Donnell?
Yes.
Richardson?
Yes.
Aaron Scott?
Yes.
Bill Scott?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Very good. Thank you, Mike. Any old business?
Utility.
Oh, yeah, utility. There we go, Mr. Walker.
Yes, Mr. Mayor. Item number 2 under utility, resolution approving change order number 2 for Lake Lodestar Sediment Lagoon Reclamation Project.
Motion so moved. Is there a second? Alderman Williams?
Be resolved that the council does approve change order number 2 with Friesen in reference to the Lake Lodestar Sediment Lagoon Reclamation Project.
Discussion? I would ask the clerk to please call roll.
Williams.
Yes.
Ormowski.
No.
Wankel.
Yes.
Bill Scott.
Yes.
Aaron Scott.
Yes.
Richardson.
Yes.
O'Donnell.
Yes.
Hopkins.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Any old business tonight? Any new business?
If I could just briefly fill in the rest of the city council on something that's been going on in parks and lakes. Alderman Patterson and I had a meeting with the mayor and with Kelly Hall to talk about plans for the recreational trail that's being developed at Lake Jacksonville on the north side to link all the campgrounds to the concession stand. One thing that I would like to see done, and we're exploring and talking to Chief Mefford about, is to have an ordinance that would spell out specifically what would happen if one of the registered golf carts at the lake would be driving under the influence out the lake. I don't know if anyone's ever seen the McGruff, the beer goggles in a golf cart. A golf cart could take out a traffic cone, and I would hate to have a little kid walking or riding a bike on that recreational trail be the equivalent of a traffic cone. So it's something where existing DUI regulations for driving a motor vehicle on a thoroughfare might or might not apply. The other issue is if this might be considered not important to prosecute by the state's attorney's office. And there's also might be issues with the police if they have a reason to stop somebody on a golf cart, and what that would mean for the legal process and stuff like that. So what I would like to see and what we're trying to do is to have it specifically say that if you're operating a golf cart on the trail and you're under the influence, there would be just some strict ordinance saying, there would be a fine, maybe for the first offense, and maybe for a second offense, there'd be a higher fine, plus you would lose privileges for a golf cart out of the lake. Something just to spell out specifically, and it would be handled under the city court, and it'd be just something that would give the law enforcement that we have out the lake tools to enforce this, but that would be really easy. And same thing with prosecution, that it would be easy and through the city, and there wouldn't be any question of relying on anyone else to do the prosecution. And just one thing to remember about this project is the money was coming out of the gambling fund. So this isn't a question of like lake money being spent to do this. This is supposed to be an economic development project for the city to say, we have this fantastic lake facility that we want everyone in the community using, and just want to make sure that there's no question that this isn't just like a private area that you could do whatever you want, that you can't use the golf carts while under the influence. So just wanted to bring that to everyone's attention, that's in the process.
Can I ask a question, and this is out of really not knowing. Can a person bring a golf cart from town that is not staying at one of the campgrounds and drive it around?
So there's two different cart ordinances in town. You have the one where you apply for a cart to use in town, and that's something through a state process, and you can use it on city streets, and that's one component of the cart. The other thing is out the lake, where this happened years ago when Bruce Surratt was in charge, that everyone was talking and saying, you know, like I have a bum knee and I want to be able to use the campground. So he started letting people use golf carts. And it came to the point where there was just a consumer demand that people wanted to be using golf carts. So now there's a provision where you can apply for a permit to use the golf cart out the lake. And it's something specific for being out at the lakes. And I think the restrictions was you only could use it in your campground, but I think people are just going around. I'm not sure how that's working out. But one of the things that we wanted to do with this is we wanted to do that bike trail or a recreational trail, and this tied into what the consumer demand was, that they want to use the golf carts out the lake. So it ties into that.
So you,
I think you can, Tony.
Yeah.
I think you could transport a golf cart and then
use it out.
Yeah, but I think you have to it's a separate permit.
Kelly, you have any comment on that?
Yeah, I would. In the meeting that Steve's talking about, I want to make sure we all share his concern for safety, period. And we don't want to get the cart before the trail, so to speak. We don't even have the trail yet, but I've reassured the group that we're going to write some good regulations pertaining to the trail once we get it built or once it's even being started. The chief and I will sit down, we'll come up with some regulations pertaining to golf carts and their operation and so on. I assure you that's going to happen. So we want to get the trail first. We're not going to sit down and waste a bunch of time if we don't even have the trail in place. So rest assured we will do that.
I just want to bring it up because I guess there was a rumor going around in the last election about this. So I just wanted to make sure that everyone knew what was going on in case you heard that rumor.
And one other thing, Tony, I think where you were going with your question, and Chief can back me up here, but the city of Jacksonville only has licensure for golf carts. You can't take off through the country and ride it to the lake. I don't believe that's legal. So as long as you stay within the contiguous limits of the city and you're licensed with the cart, you're okay there, but you can't go back and forth. Is that correct, Chief?
You go on a county road,
Right. The county has not given us authority for golf carts, so you know, that's why I think that's the answer you were looking for.
you have to put on a trailer, transport it out.
Chief, we can issue tickets now on a golf cart, couldn't we? Yes. Just like a boat or a bicycle or anything else.
But however, at the lake, if they pull onto the county road, that's enforceable by the county.
Right.
Because it's no longer
It's whole
registered under
city
the
property.
city's jurisdiction at that point.
City property.
Yes, the Lake Jacksonville, if they're violating anything, it's enforceable through the ordinance or through, there's certain state statutes that apply to the golf cart as well.
Go ahead.
Like, there have been accidents in motor vehicles out there, winding roads where people have been drinking. Will the trails be designed to slow the carts down and through curves or speed bumps or something, so you can't get up to 20, 25 miles an hour in a golf cart?
So the accidents that you mean on the county roads right now?
No, I mean, the road's dangerous enough for motor vehicles when people are drunk out there.
Right.
What I'm saying is this golf cart path or this nature trail, will it have enough curves in it or undulations in topography or speed bumps or something to keep the vehicles slow enough that people aren't running over kids?
No, that's not going to happen, Mike. You know, we'll take precautions and we'll set the rules so those things, you know, we'll try to prevent that.
I guess one of the other discussions, if there would be a speed limit that you could put on golf carts. So usually when you have trails, that there's a pecking order that pedestrians always have the right of way, followed by bicyclists. We haven't even discussed if we're going to allow horses on there. That's something we would have to bring up. But yeah, I would almost like to see that, especially if there's a kid walking on a bike, that the golf cart would have to stop until the kid passes. Something just to make sure that it's really safe for people out there.
Keep people friendly.
Yeah. And one of the other things is that my neighbor's granddaughter was involved with she was riding her bike out at Lake Jacksonville. I forget exactly when, but she was hit by, I don't know if it was a drunk driver, there was no prosecution or anything like that, but I mean, we already have people using the roads out there who are, she was being impacted. So I would hate for her to be on a recreational trail that's supposed to draw people from the city out to the lake, or for something like that to happen. And that's not to say that anything like that's happening now, like there's no specific reports, but I mean, it's, you can drink out there and you can use golf carts, I just want to make sure it's specifically that it's not allowed. So thanks for your concern about that.
Any other old business? One new business, we have a Hall of Famer in this room. Congratulations to Chief Adam Mefford for being the Illinois College Hall of Fame. Good job, Chief. Any other new business? Is there a motion? Motion somewhere?
Oh, yes. I'd like to make a motion, we adjourn.
Is there a second? Alderman, you're so quick.